My dear friends, welcome to Rajashekar classes on Applied Data Science with Python. This is lecture number 147. In this lecture, we will try to understand errors in hypothesis testing. We will learn about the errors that can be made in hypothesis testing. In general, we can have two types of errors, type 1 error and type 2 error. First, we will try to understand definition of these two errors. Type 1 error. Type 1 error is when you reject a true null hypothesis and is the more serious error. It is also called false positive error. Just I can say false positive. This point is very important. Rejecting a true null hypothesis. When this type 1 error occurs, if you reject true null hypothesis, then that error is known as type 1 error. This is also known as false positive. There is another name for this error, that is false positive. The probability of making this error is alpha. Even you can say this one is level of significance. We discussed about this level of significance in our previous lectures. Just you can let me repeat this point. The probability of making this error, which error? The probability of making type 1 error is alpha. That alpha is known as level of significance. Level of significance, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Since you, let me assume, since you means in my view you are the researcher. Since you, the researcher, choose the alpha, the responsibility for making this error lies solely on you. Type 2 error. Type 2 error is when you accept a false null hypothesis. This you must understand. When you are accepting false null hypothesis. That is type 2 error. You must not accept. If null hypothesis is false, you must not accept. But you are accepting false null hypothesis, means that is type 2 error. This can also known as false negative. I will repeat, the type 2 error is when you accept a false null hypothesis. The probability of making this error is denoted by beta, isn't it? This is beta. Yes. What is this beta? I will repeat. What is this beta? The probability of making this error. This error means what? Type 2 error. That probability is known as, it is denoted by this letter beta, isn't it? Beta depends mainly on sample size and population variance. This point you must understand. Your beta depends on your sample size and your population variance. So, if your topic is difficult to test due to hard sampling or has high variability, it is more likely to make this type of error, that is type 2 error. As you can imagine, if the data set is hard to test, it is not your fault. So, type 2 error is considered a smaller problem. We should also mention that the probability of rejecting false null hypothesis is equal to 1 minus beta. That you must understand. What is your 1 minus beta? Probability of, we know what is beta. Let me say like this. we should also mention the probability of rejecting this one. Probability of rejecting what? Of probability of rejecting a false null hypothesis. A false NH, let me say null hypothesis. That is 1 minus beta. What is beta? Probability of accepting null hypothesis. Beta is type 2 error. Probability, this is type 2 error. A 1 minus type 2 error means that is you can say probability of rejecting null hypothesis. This is the researcher goal, to reject false null hypothesis. You must understand that is the goal of the research. You must reject. This is the researcher's goal, to reject a false null hypothesis. Therefore, 1 minus beta is called power of the test. This 1 minus beta is known as or is called as power of the test. Generally, researchers increase the power of a test by increasing the sample size. This is a common table statisticians use to summarize types of errors. Just say this one. It is simple table. Let me say you are a researcher. You can make two types of conclusions about null hypothesis. You may accept null hypothesis. You may reject null hypothesis. If you accept null hypothesis, there may be two possibilities for null hypothesis. Your null hypothesis may be true. This is truth. This is the truth. Your null hypothesis may be true, may not be true. If null hypothesis is true and you are accepting, means yes, there is no error. But if your null hypothesis false, you are accepting, means that is type 2 error. What is type 2 error? You are accepting false null hypothesis. It's a false, isn't it? That is type 2 error, which is denoted by beta. Again, there is another possibility, rejecting null hypothesis. When it is true, in reality H naught is true, but you are rejecting. That is type 1 error. That is false positive, isn't it? Reject H naught when it is false. That is no issue. It's a correct. It's correct decision. Here you have correct decision. Correct decision, isn't it? Here also you have correct decision, isn't it? Correct decision. Is it? Now let's see an example that I heard from my professor back when I was studying statistics in university. You are in love with a girl from the other class, but are unsure if she likes you. There are two errors you can make, isn't it? You are not sure, you are not confident about her, whether she loves you or don't like, whether she loves or she may love, she may not love, isn't it? First, if she likes you back and you don't invite her out, you are making type 1 error. What does it mean? Here, what is my null hypothesis? She likes you. What is the truth? She likes you back. This is my truth. But what you are doing a mistake. What is that mistake? You don't invite her, isn't it? That is known as, you don't invite her means you are rejecting true null hypothesis. That is known as type 1 error. Let me repeat. First, if she likes you back and you don't invite her out, you are making type 1 error. The null hypothesis in this situation is she likes you back. This is she likes you back is my null hypothesis. Even it is true. She likes you back that's true. It turns out, but unfortunately, you did not invite her out because after testing the situation, you wrongly thought the null hypothesis was false, isn't it? In other words, you made type 1 error, means you are rejecting a true null hypothesis and lost your chance. It is very serious problem because you could have been made for each other but you did not even try. Now imagine another situation, she does not likes you back. Here null hypothesis is you are formulating she likes you back. In reality, she does not likes you back. But you go and invite her out. The null hypothesis is still she likes you. The null hypothesis is still she likes you back. But this time it is false. This time it is false. In reality, she does not really like you back. However, after testing, you accept the null hypothesis wrongly and go and invite her. She tells you she has a boyfriend that is much older, smarter, and better at statistics than you and turns her back. You made type 2 error accepting, you are accepting false null hypothesis. You are inviting her, you are inviting her out, but in reality she is not liking you. This is also an error. This error is known as type 2 error. However, it is no big deal as you go back to your normal life without her and soon forget about this difficult situation. Hypothesis testing is usually like that. You don't really want to make any of the two errors, but it happens sometimes. You should be aware that statistics is very useful but not perfect. That's all from our story. Just go through this type of errors. Just see here what's happening. Just same statistics table. Accept null hypothesis when it is true, no issue, but you are accepting when it is false. She is wrongly invited her, she is not liking you, but you are invited her. That is type 2 error. But missed your chance, she is liking you, but missed your chance, she is liking you, but you have not invited her. That is type 1 error. This type 1 error is very serious problem. Just go through this lecture. It is simple and straightforward. If you have any difficulty, just keep your comments so that we will try to understand. Thank you very much.